everybody. My name is Aubrey. I am here from Utah. I moved here about a year and a half ago with my husband. Not here by choice. He had to move for his job. But I'm very happy to be going to school at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. I'm studying math and I'm a senior, so I'll be graduating very soon. This last semester, along with this course, I've been taking a data visualization class for my data science emphasis, and so I was very excited to have a topic in this class that related to one of my other classes. Data, whether we know it or not, is all around us, and it holds a lot of secrets about our past and about current events and trends that are happening in the real world. Most people, however, might take a look at data like this that you see, and they might be a little bit afraid of it. I know that I am, but they might not see it as anything that's valuable or have any sort of use to them because it's so messy. However, data visualization provides people the ability to process the meaning from large quantities of data in seconds, maybe minutes, depending on the data graphic, but it's meant to be very simple to understand, and this lays a stable foundation for which big decisions in an organization can be made. So today we're going to talk about what data visualizations are, what a data graphic is. We're going to talk about how it fits in with the main topic of our class, organizations, application, and technology. And then we're going to be talking about how data graphics can be misleading and misused, since we do see them almost every day of our lives. What is data? This is something that we talked about at the very beginning of this class, and we talked about how it is a stream of raw facts. These facts can be prices, they can be letters, maybe names of streets or schools, or I don't know, any sort of location or name of something. They can be codes representing a product, or they can be dates. The main thing about data is that it has yet to be analyzed, has yet to be processed, and so in its current state, like in the picture, it's not very useful, but that is where data visualization comes in. So obviously then, data visualization is when data is made visual. It is the graphical representation of that data. Data viz is very important because when data is made visual, it is better to understand and it's easier to remember. Data graphics are important because they show patterns and correlations that you otherwise wouldn't know about. And also, outliers are completely obvious when they are made visual. Just imagine looking in a table for one number that doesn't look exactly like the rest. If there are thousands or even millions of pieces of data, it could take a very long time to do. So being able to make data visual is very important. Evidence of data graphics date back to 6200 BC with the oldest known map, but I am going to talk about three of the most important data visualizations in history because of their impact. This first one is called A Chart of Biography. It's from Joseph Priestley, and I don't expect you to be able to read all the words, but basically what's going on in this graphic is that it's a timeline, and there are many countries on this timeline, and it shows what's happening in these countries in each of these periods of time. This data graphic is a pretty big one in history because it introduced the use of the x-axis as a timeline. This next one is called William Playfair's Wheat and Wages Chart, and it is an example of one of the very first used bar charts. It's pretty easy to understand. It just shows the changing prices of wheat over time. But this one's pretty significant because if you think about how often bar charts are used today, um, I had to start somewhere, and William Playfair did that for us. This next one is from someone that we've heard of before, at least I hope so. It is called The Diagram of the Causes of Mortality by Florence Nightingale, and she made this stacked bar chart of the causes of death among the soldiers in her hospital, and it showed that by a long shot the causes of death were from preventable wounds or sicknesses. And so because of this chart, she saved many, many lives. Now here we have some of the most common data graphics that you've seen. I know you have seen. We have the pie chart, a column chart, a choropleth. I bet you didn't know what that thing was called, but especially around voting season, we see those. And then a subway or tube map, and I bet you didn't realize that that was even considered a data graphic. And then in the very bottom, a time series. It shows how data changes over a period of time. At this point, you should have a pretty good grasp of data visualization, what it is and why it's important. So now we can move on to talk about how it's used and how it's applied. There are many, many, many big data companies today. Some of the ones that you might be familiar with are Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Amazon. Each of these organizations uses data visualization in its own way. The company that we're going to be talking about today, because I know you all love it and use it, fun fact, nearly a third of nightly internet traffic in North America is spent using it. What is it? It is Netflix. And so we're going to be talking about how it uses data visualization to remain one of the biggest big data companies. So while you're watching Netflix every single night, it is collecting data on you. It collects data on what you're watching. It collects data on the times of day you're watching, the times of week maybe. It even collects data on when you pause the show or when you rewind the show. What they do with that data, I have no clue, but I am going to tell you what they do with data on the colors of the most watched shows. In this data graphic, it's a little confusing at first, but it appears to be a stacked bar chart of the colors used in two different covers of a television show. And we see that they're very, very similar. Using color comparison visuals of the covers of these two different TV shows, Netflix researches whether the colors impact the viewer's rating, recommendations, and viewing habits. The company's decision makers use this information to answer important business questions. Some of those questions might be, do certain customers tend to watch shows and movies with a specific color theme? What colors of titles appeal to which customers? And also, when creating an original series, is there an ideal cover? Should different colors be used for different audiences? So as you can see, just with this type of data graphic, Netflix is able to make some pretty big decisions. Now, some companies have their own software that they've created to help them make data graphics, but the most common are Tableau and Hadoop. If you work with data at all, you've probably heard of them. Other kinds of technology allow multiple users to look at a data graphic at once and then play around with changing the data and seeing how it affects the overall graphic, or zoom in on a particular part of the data. I know that after watching this video, you're going to start noting data graphics around you much more often. So I think it's really important that I take a second and point out some things to look for to make sure that you recognize a bad graphic. One thing is that we want to make sure that the y-axis always starts at 0 and that it goes upwards, because otherwise your data will be distorted, like in these two data graphics. Also, always make sure when percentages are used that they all equal 100% when they're added together. When 3D graphics are used, it's almost certain that you're going to misunderstand what the graphic is trying to say or not be able to read it at all, like you can see in these two graphics, which show the exact same information. The one on the left, you can't see how high the bars are, but you can easily tell how tall they are compared to each other on the one on the right. When graphics are stretched or put in an angle, the information is not interpreted the same way. So it's really important that you make sure that you're looking at a data graphic straight on and that it hasn't been skewed in any way. In conclusion, we talked about what data visualization is, and we talked about some of the most famous graphics and also about some of the most common ones. And then we talked about how organizations use data visualization today and some of the technology that they use to create or explore data visuals. Lastly, we gained a little bit of knowledge on how to know if a data graphic that you see is reliable and not misleading. Now, I hope that after watching this, you'll keep an eye out for some data visualization around you and see how common it really is. Thanks for watching.